I'm Allison. I'm going to be doing my informative speech on the polygraph test and how it works. The first picture is a photo from when the polygraph test first came out. The common term for it is a lie detector test, but the technical term would be a polygraph test. In my speech, I'm going to inform you on how it's made, the history of it, and a lot of theories people have on how to beat the test. I chose the topic out of my own curiosity, and because I did a lot of previous research on the topic, I feel I'm confident in my knowledge on being able to explain it to a group of people. As I said before, it'll be the history, how it works, and theories people have on beating the system. So starting off the history of the polygraph test, James Mackenzie, and there's a photo of him. James Mackenzie was the first person to invent a polygraph test. He invented the clinical polygraph test in 1906. He lived from 1953 and died in 1925, coincidentally, of cardiac arrest after he was a cardiologist for many years. He was from Scotland. And then we have John Larson, who created the modern-day polygraph. John Larson was born in 1982, and he was a police officer. He began being a police officer at age 27, and he studied medical science at the University of California. After reading an article by James Martin entitled Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology, which talked about the effects lying has on blood pressure as well as heart rate, he became really interested in it and wanted to find a way to tell if a person is lying or not. So he created a layout for the lie detector test and began doing a lot of research on it. His first polygraph test he made was 5 feet long and 2.5 feet wide and weighed 30 pounds. And after years of developing that into a more futuristic polygraph, they've condensed it down into a smaller size. In 1923, he got a patent for the test and tested it on over 100 people of the Berkeley Police Department. Leonard Keeler, he was a young kid in 1922. He was 17 years old and started doing work in the photo lab in the Berkeley Police Department. And that's where he met John Larson, and he soon became his assistant. Over the next several months, they did over 100 polygraph tests to people around the area in petty theft crimes to figure out whether or not they were lying. And in 1924, he went to UCLA, where he administered even more polygraph tests. And afterwards, he transferred to Stanford University. And 2 years later, in 1924, he created his own polygraph test and entitled it the Keeler Polygraph Test, which he patented and sold 12 of them, one including to the Berkeley Police Department for $300 each. And then we have John E. Reed. He didn't actually invent a polygraph test. He invented a way to question the people. He made a new way to administer the test, in which you ask them certain questions so that you know whether their heart rate is at normal and when they're lying when it's increased. So how it works, this is a photo of a polygraph test nowadays. As you can see, they condensed it down a lot from the 5-foot size when it was first created. The word polygraph is a Greek word, poly meaning many and graph meaning writings, many writings. The whole point of the polygraph test is to detect sensors. It detects the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, and the electrodermal system. In the cardiovascular system, it detects your heart rate and blood pressure. And in the electrodermal system, it detects your sweating. And in the respiratory system, it detects your breathing. Whenever any of these senses are heightened, it technically means you're lying. And then when they ask you questions, they ask a control, which is a basic question such as, what is your name, so that they know your normal levels, and they can relate that to whether or not they're heightened to know whether or not you're lying. a relevant question is something that relates to the question the thing they're actually questioning you about. So in like a court case, the actual study that they're asking you about. And irrelevant is any other question that could cause a response. There's a picture of Pinocchio. Beating the test, there's a couple ways people believe you can beat the test, which all include just controlling your senses. So they say if you control your breathing, not necessarily just breathing slower, but changing your patterns of breathing while asking questions, like breathing faster during a control and breathing as slow as possible during a relevant question. That way they don't know how to relate the control to your relevant questions. And also to cause a raise in blood pressure or heart rate, people have actually bit the inside of their lip to increase their blood pressure, or put a tack in the front of their shoe to inflict pain, which causes an increase in blood pressure. And also to increase blood pressure or heart rate, you can think about something you're scared of, because fear also heightens your blood pressure. And I have a quote from
question, actually. Now, you said fear and other things can raise your blood pressure. I can imagine taking a lie detector test would be very stressful to begin with, so how can they even base anything off that when your blood pressure would be pretty high to begin with?
Well, if they base it off of the controls, they can base it off the controls. So if they asked you like what your name is, they would base the other questions off of that, rather than basing it off of one that actually relates to what they're trying to figure out about you.
Oh, thank you.
2 more questions. Go ahead, Nick.
When you're like taking a lie detector test, like where's it usually administered at or taken at?
Depends in what scenario. If it's for a daytime TV show like Steve Wilkos or something like that, they're obviously going to take it in the back. But in cases in which they need to take it, like for a crime or something, they take it at a police station.
Okay.
1 more.
What else do they monitor? You said the cardiovascular, and what else?
The respiratory and the electrodermal, and the respiratory is your breathing, and the electrodermal is your sweating.
Okay. So I imagine the room has to be temperature sensitive as well.
I'm not too sure about that one, sir.
Not bad.
But then I also have a YouTube video.
Well, there you go. Should watch that from the beginning.
It's The Simpsons. I cannot locate it, so it'll be on my...
Copy, paste.
Are we still recording?
Yeah.
Oh, we're live.
I think.
My foot hurts.
No, we're still live. We're still live.
It's not connected to the internet, but it'll be on my PowerPoint when I mail it to you.
Is that it?
Yeah.